All right, this is a review of writing equations, and we're writing linear equations in this unit. The first example, write the equation of a line that has a slope of 3 and goes through negative 6, 1. This one I'm just using as a starter to remind you that if you have a slope and a y-intercept, you would typically use the form y equals mx plus b, which is our slope-intercept form. But often we're not given the y-intercept, and so the easiest thing to do is not to use slope-intercept form, but to use point-slope form. And you probably remember, hopefully, that point-slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And in this little equation here, we need to fill in three things. We need to fill in our y1, which kind of includes that negative sign or positive, depending, and I'll talk about that. You got to fill in the value over here for the x1, and you also have to fill in your slope. The x and the y just stay there just like any equation or function would, so that those represent any xy points on the line. So, with all that said, let's remember that this right here is our x value, this right here is our y value, and we know the line goes through that point, so this is our first x point and our first y point that we know is on the line. So then all we have to do is plug these things in, this 3 and this negative 6 and this 1, into this point-slope equation. So to do so, we're going to start by writing y, and then we have to write minus y1. So if I wrote minus y1, I would write minus, and the y1 value right here is 1, so y minus 1. Now you probably remember in class we talked about if this is a positive 1 right here in the point, it's going to be minus 1 in the equation. So it's always the opposite. All right, then we're going to write equals, and then m up here is my slope. So I'm going to write 3, and then x minus our x1 value. And our x1 value right here is negative 6, so we write negative 6 there. And again, notice what x minus negative 6 will be is plus. So we could rewrite this as y minus 1 equals 3x plus 6. Okay, and that is our equation for that line. So most of the examples you're going to see then are this next one, which is just a little bit trickier, and that's because we're not given the slope. Remember that we're not given the when we're not given the slope, we have to find it. So here's one point on the line, here's another point on the line. So we need to find the slope using those 2 points, because in order to write an answer in point-slope form, we need a point and we need the slope. And again, we had both of those things in this example. So which point do we want to use? It does not matter. I'm going to use the point 5, negative 2, and now I need to find my slope. So the slope formula is m, stands for slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We need to subtract our y values, we need to subtract our x values in the appropriate order. So if this is my x value of this point, this is my y value, this is an x value, and this is a y value. Now we can just go ahead and say this is my first point that's listed, this is my second point that's listed, and all I have to do is put them in the formula where they go. So y2 is negative 4, y1 is negative 2. Now be careful, we have to write minus, and then our y1 value is negative 2. So be careful, negative 4 minus negative 2, and in the bottom x sub 2 is negative 7 minus our x1 value, which is 5. When we do our math then, negative 4 minus negative 2, or a computation I should say, negative 4 plus 2, that will become, so negative 2. And then negative 7 minus 5 is negative 12. And negative divided by negative is positive, and 2 over 12, you could leave as 2 over 12, but simplified it is 1/6. So now we know that our slope is 1/6, and we can write our equation. Just like we did in the first example, we're going to write y minus our y value. So this is x, this is y, the first one. So y1 is negative 2. So we're going to put a negative 2 in here, which actually turns it to the opposite, right? So again, if this is negative 2, it goes in as positive 2. Equals our slope, which is 1/6, and then x, and now if this x value is positive 5, we're going to put it in right here as minus 5. And there's our equation for that one. Now, writing the equation of a line that's shown from a graph, we can do it the exact same way as I did on the previous page by selecting 2 points on the line, finding the slope, and then putting it into point slope form. But let's take the easy route, right? So if we know we have a graph, we can write y equals mx plus b, and we can fill in the slope and we can fill in the y-intercept very quickly by just looking at the graph. So y equals m, the slope. To find the slope on this graph, all we have to do is choose a couple of points. So let's say this one right here, and let's say this one right here, and carefully count our rise and our run. So from this first red point here, I'm going, let's see if I can get a better arrow here. I'm going from here down 1, 2, 3. So down 3. Down 3 is negative 3. So that's my rise. And now I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right to get to that point. So 4 to the right is positive 4. So there's my slope, negative 3 over 4. It's a negative slope as it should be because the graph is going downhill. Then we put x, and then plus b is our y-intercept, right? This is our y-intercept. Our y-axis is this one right here, so we want to know where it's crossing the y-axis. It's crossing the y-axis at the point we already kind of put a red dot on, which is 4. So we can put plus 4 for our y-intercept. And that one is done.